let's talk about this Elon Musk thing. For one, you have to be aware socially. You have to walk into a crowd and say, I can't bring my prejudices, I can't bring my motivation and apply it to other people. I have to walk in a neutral capacity and try to read the room and understand how to corroborate the group momentum so we're all happy, because you have to mesh within society. What they do is they take their very, very skewed perceptions into a room and apply it to other people without trying to take a consensus, read the room, or try to match the energy and blend. They do not want to blend. They want to create speed bumps. They want to create altercations so that they can then say, oh, look, you're hateful and you're trying to do X, Y, and Z. Why do they do this? Because to live in that mind state of paranoia and to think that the world is out for you, you have to elicit three things from every person that you come in contact with: fear, obligation, and guilt. Fear, when they don't believe what you're saying and don't want to say that they believe the same as you, then you try to provoke them and scare them. Skewed facts, even threats work at some points. It's really distasteful, I know. Obligation, if you don't fear them, they're going to try to make you feel obligated to believe what they believe. How are they going to do that? Also employing guilt. We see this a lot with a lot of the abortion talks. We see this a lot with the illegal talks. We find a 1% issue that doesn't cover the 99%. So if they're talking about the 99%, and saying, this is 99% of the issue, we need to focus on this, we will then say this is 1% and you need to focus on that. Knowing that the 99% should be focused upon because that is the relevance there, but we want to bring up one thing they don't want to speak about and then make it seem like they're uneducated, ignorant, or completely got the story wrong. So they do that because it elicits those responses of fear, obligation, and guilt. It's kind of sad. And I'm sorry, but if you go into a meeting, you go into an event, you watch a television program, and you take your perception filters into that, you're going to see what you want to see. What I saw is someone who is very socially anxious, and you can see that he's talked about it in his interviews, and being on the spectrum, people say, well, don't apply that to him. Well, we have to look at him where he is. And he is somebody that we can obviously see that he's on the spectrum. He talks about being on the spectrum, and we see how it takes advantage of him, or he takes advantage of it. He makes him very smart. He knows how to hyper-focus and do incredible things. He's got savant-level skills, but it also weakens his social skills. It makes him socially anxious. He doesn't always do things as smoothly as the rest of us would. And so we have to go into that event, and we have to look at it with neutral eyes, and we have to say, what is he implying? Never, ever has Elon spoke about being affiliated with any of those people, about being related to any of those people, about supporting any of those people. He simply made a gesture. And if we take all gestures out of context, then we can take a picture of anyone or take a 2-second video of anyone and apply our perceptual filters onto that person and say that everybody has done that. We can't go through life like that. We can't. Because we can't expect people to look at 2 seconds of the world instead of the rest of it. And once again, we have to look at the 99%, not the 1%. And this is really where they fail. So why do they do this? It's unconscious social behavior. It's what we do when we forget that anyone else exists. And sadly, that's what these cultures request. They request conformity, to align with ideas and ideals and ideologues, and that you must completely represent the idea, the ideal, the ideology, the group above yourself. How can you champion for the entire human race to be its best self if you're not allowed to be yourself truthfully? They've killed reality, they've killed truth, and all they want to do is create an authoritarian regime to where everyone sounds the same, looks the same, and fears the same retaliation. That doesn't sound like a free society or a very good human race to me, does it to you? The truth is, if they were woke, which is past tense of awake, which should say a lot right there, but if they were truly awake, they would have open minds. And they would see that everything that they are doing is actually eliciting the wrong change. It's actually eliciting what they say they're against. But they don't take time to notice that. They don't take time to understand that while they say they're against racism, they are creating racism. They're creating cultural conflict by using race as a tool, as a weapon to create fear, obligation, and guilt to try to sway the population to conform. None of this sounds free. None of this sounds moderately engaging. None of this sounds as though it's anything that will help aid humanity, the human race, or the world. So why do they do it? Because it is a challenge to today's youth to belong. With the availability of the internet, with the availability of information, and with the availability of seeking things that are not desperately informative, our children have found that they have to go into adulthood at a very voracious pace. They no longer have any kind of cultural advances into adulthood that marks them as being adult, transitioning from juvenile to adult. They think they have to profess themselves in some dramatic way. This normally does create an issue for more of the people that are social justice warriors, that are what we would call bleeding hearts, too empathetic by nature, that have too many ideals without factual evidence behind their perceptual filters. So they walk around and they think the world should be one thing without understanding everything that the world actually is. Without pulling all the information to create an idea, they just create an idea and then want the information to support their idea. It's backwards, much like they're woke when they should be awake. They're unconscious when they should be aware. All of this has hindered the way that they walk in and see the rest of the world. They are actually everything they say they're not. And I fear that this is for a reason. It was created to do this. And it will eventually backfire, but it's going to hurt all of humanity, not just them. Why? Because in their endeavor to create this adult group, this adult behavior, they are still taking their juvenile selves in there without doing the research, putting the time in, investigating. They're just jumping in to this conformity wagon. And they're not weighing the options. They're not looking at everyone else. They're not looking at society and humanity as a whole. They're just simply looking at their team. You can't go into the world well armed if you're only looking at 1% of the population. Not even 20% of the population. You have to look at every person on the earth. And if your ideals challenge other people's safety, think about it, then you're not actually woke, compassionate, or trying to better the world. You're actually creating conflict. But these people don't see that. Why? Because they are very blind. They don't understand that they're being manipulated. They don't understand that what they're saying they're creating is actually doing the exact opposite. It is because a little trick called gaslighting, which has been around forever, just usually was insincere, speech, tactical endeavors by, manipulative individuals. Now we call it gaslighting. They don't understand that they're being gaslit, and they don't understand how to circumvent the gaslighting, do research, make themselves aware, challenge their ideas, challenge others' ideas, and create a well-grounded, well-educated perception of society and the world. One in which they can fit, not one in which they rule, one in which they can fit. They don't understand that they're basically phasing themselves out, along with everyone else. So with the advancement of this woke culture, we have actually hindered the world. Because now, since you are seen as good, because you are woke, you don't have to actually apply yourself to making the world a good place. All you have to do is virtue signal or do a little keyboard warrioring. That limits the amount of people that are truly invested in positive change in the world. And the people that are truly invested in positive change in the world are often the first targets of this group. It is amazing what harassment and bigotry and bullying online can create within our society. Unfortunately, it has created a lack of people that perform mission trips, that do volunteer work for other countries, that go into poor areas and help benefit the families in there. People that actually put in sweat equity into their nation. That is no longer a thing. Now, to simply be a champion of the world, you simply have to sit at your computer and belittle someone else, creating fear, obligation, and guilt. We really shortchanged the entire movement, didn't we? Does anybody else see that? They're not looking. But what they are looking at is 2 seconds of somebody's multi-minute speech. They're looking at human behavior, but only in one way. Everyone that moves apparently is doing the same. Like, apparently Hitler was a yoga teacher, and we're all doing the same movements. They just need to capture it on film and put it on TV. It's very disconcerting to see people take a clip or a 2-second freeze frame, small piece of a video, and say, I know exactly what this man was thinking, what he was doing, and I'm going to tell you, and you must believe me. When we don't. Okay, there's a reason why our court does not punish on motive, they punish on actions, is because we must see the behavior in a victim before the court will take action. We can't say, oh, we think he was going to hurt them. We have to see the behavior, and we have to have a victim. Okay, the behavior, honestly, misconstrued. We don't know what he was doing. He didn't say what he was doing, and obviously, when he gave the speech, he was basically saying that he was sharing his heart. He did not in any way reverence anything that was uncouth or distasteful. So how did they infer that this was the behavior? Because they go into those events with paranoia, with fixation, and again, with that conformity mentality that I'm going to see this, I want to see this, and I need to find any small, even if it's just a tiny, minuscule moment, to apply what I believe to show people that they're wrong. See, I told you he was like that. We can't do that. We can't do that. And for one reason we can't do this, once again, we're going to punish by motive, and we don't have the ability to punish by motive. We don't know what anyone else is thinking. We have to see the action, which means they have to portray a action that has a victim. That did not occur here. So it's not punishable by law. So you're going to step out and punish by motive. You don't know what that man was thinking. And if you look at context clues, he did not say anything about anything you're implying. How did we get here? We got here because of blind rage and paranoia and egotistical youth. That's how we got here. We got here by people that think they're always right, and therefore they don't have to research, understand, or comprehend anyone else's form of life, form of reality, form of perceptual filters. We just have to stay in our lane and make everyone else join our lane. This is such belligerent behavior, especially when it comes to society. We have to help society. We can't hinder society. It's very frustrating because if I took their behavior and applied it the way they do, it would look something like this. So in closing, watch out for people that try to promote fear, obligation, and guilt to make you basically cower beneath them. Watch out for people that wake up every morning and have a set intention to find somebody doing something against them. I mean, if you're looking for a fight, you're going to find one. And that's just, you can create that. You send that energy out, you create it, it's going to happen. You can go to Walmart and pick a fight with anybody. You can park your car a little askew and wait for somebody to fuss at you and then jump on them and say they're a bigot. You can just create these scenarios to where you can apply your mentality and then ask everyone else to see it as you see it. What we need to understand is that we're all humans. We all see differently, and we all have different perceptual filters. And we have to respect that. We cannot go through our life with a paranoid mindset or with a what's the best way to say this so that I won't get in trouble? We can't go through life sitting and waiting to attack someone, just waiting for the right words that we can skew them, waiting for the right behavior so we can admonish them or say it meant something else, to apply our motivation to them. We can't do that. We can't do that. I would beg that everyone wake up and try to be a good person and see the good in others before they see the bad. I've tried to do that so much. What I'm really frustrated with is that it seems to be predominantly the people that are online that have these beliefs. They're very inactive in real life, but because they're very loud online, we think that they're a large group of people. If they were a large group of people and they actually followed through with their behavior, they would be helping other countries. They would be helping the poor. They would be doing these trips to rebuild cities that were destroyed. They would be putting themselves to good use. We know that they're not active participants in the world. They are social justice warriors and keyboard warriors. They make a lot of noise, and sadly, the web is where people think that society lives. They think that everyone's reflected on the internet is the ratio of society. It is not. And sadly, it's so easy to type a few words, to present only a certain portion of yourself, to show only a certain profile of yourself, and to attack others based on very small beliefs. It's harder to get up and try to understand everybody. I've been looking at people for a long time. I have never seen such hate and malice. And I supervise murderers. I've never seen such hate and malice in humanity before, and it bothers me greatly. So let's not jump to conclusions. Let's not try to judge by what we think is going to occur. Let's actually talk about actions, context, and behavior, and victims. If you don't have those things, you probably don't have anything to be fussing about. And if you're trying to apply 100 years ago to today, be careful. Because the parameters you place on those things are the parameters that the opposing team is going to begin to use. Hence the video display I just showed you. We can't jump to conclusions. What we need to be jumping to is conscientiousness. That would be nice. You can see from my other live the other day just how rude people can be without provocation. Why would you then want to provoke, knowing that's just going to create conflict without any chance of resolution? Understand that what you're creating is the opposite of what you think you want to create, and that in the end, you are simply just putty in someone else's hand and creating the world they wish to reign upon. Really wake up. Be your own person. Think. Look at others. See them as real people, not obstacles. Maybe humanity will get back to being better, decent, compatible. That would be great. Can't wait to see what they said I did in this little educational video. Y'all be good people. Be aware. Be hypervigilant. Don't be paranoid. And when it comes to people, try to pull out the good instead of the bean. Look at the positive instead of the negative. And try to create bonds instead of barriers. It's the little things, y'all. It's the little things. How do we get here? One small step at a time. How do we get back? One small step at a time. It's not going to be easily or quickly fixed. We're in for the long haul. But I do hope that some of y'all understand anything can be portrayed in any way. It takes a real person to actually investigate and come to a well-informed decision and sit back and say, no, that's not going to benefit my cause. I can't push that. I don't think that's going to create critical thinking. I think that's going to create confusion. All of these things would have been great for somebody to have thought. I wish they had. Because here we are, being bigots on the internet. Sad time for the world. Very.